Are you sick and tired of being sick and tired? Of dragging yourself into yet another day at a job that undervalues and underpays you? Of feeling like you're just trading hours of your limited life for a meager paycheck that disappears as quickly as it arrives? If you're nodding along right now, pay attention, because this message is for you. I'm about to blow the lid off the limiting beliefs that have kept you trapped in the rat race. The truth is, the conventional path of getting a good education, finding a stable 9-to-5 job, and spending your prime working for someone else's dream is a scam. A scam designed to turn you into an obedient little worker bee whose only purpose is making someone else wealthy and powerful. Does that sting a bit? Good. You should be bothered by settling for a one-way ticket to mediocrity, because deep down, you have dreams and aspirations that far exceed merely surviving until retirement. You want true wealth, the kind that doesn't derive from material possessions, but from having complete control over how you spend your precious time on this earth. So many of us have bought into the flawed notion that wealth solely means having a high income or accumulating stuff. But pause for a moment and ask yourself, is that unfulfilled high earner working 80 hours a week really wealthy? Or are they broke in all the areas that truly matter? Time, freedom, growth, experiences, rich relationships. What I'm proposing is a radically different blueprint for crafting a life of true wealth and abundance. One where you get to design your ideal lifestyle first, and then align your income sources to facilitate, not inhibit, that vision. It's about rejecting the pervasive time for money trap, and instead, learning to make money move for you. Welcome to your daily dose of wealth wisdom. In this video, I'll expose the pitfalls of the traditional employment mindset that have kept you locked in a cage. But more importantly, I'll reveal the strategies and psychological shifts required to reshape your reality from paycheck prisoner to master of true wealth. The path to getting there won't be easy, but your future self will profoundly thank you for having the courage to expect more. Are you ready to escape the rat race and craft a life of boundless freedom, passion, and abundance? Then keep listening, because we're just getting started. From the moment we were young kids, most of us were instilled with the same flawed blueprint for life. Get good grades, go to college, find a safe 9-to-5 job, take out a mortgage, work for 40+ years, then hopefully retire with a modest pension. Rinse and repeat for the next generation. On the surface, it seems like a relatively straightforward path to a comfortable life. But dig a little deeper, and you'll realize this model is actually designed to make you an obedient cog in someone else's machine. A life subscribed to mediocrity and lifelong dependency on an employer. Think about it. You spend around a third of your waking hours dedicated to generating income for a company. In exchange, you get a paycheck that covers basic expenses and little else. Meanwhile, the wealthy people you work for keep compounding their riches from your productivity. Still feeling unfulfilled, you look to frivolous spending and debt to derive some temporary satisfaction. A bigger home, fancier cars, luxurious vacations, all paid for by borrowing money and trading years of your future labor for fleeting highs. Before long, you're trapped in a vicious cycle of endless work and consumption. A paycheck-to-paycheck existence where you have little control over your most limited resource, time. Your dreams get permanently deferred as you prioritize job security above all else. The stats around this sobering reality are staggering. Over 70% of Americans are crippled by debt and living paycheck to paycheck, even at higher income levels. Perhaps most concerning, studies show money stress is the top factor behind strained relationships and substance abuse. So let me ask you this. Is clinging to a deeply flawed system that prioritizes money over quality of life really worth inexplicable human costs like that? Are you willing to resign yourself to being a lifelong trading time for money mercenary in the rigged game of work until you die? If you're feeling a resounding hell no well up inside you, that makes me smile. Because that spark of resistance, as uncomfortable as it may feel, is the first step to rejecting limited dogmas and consciously crafting a life of true wealth and abundance. One where your time and energy isn't auctioned off to the highest bidder, but invested into sustainable assets that generate income on your terms. Before we go any further, we need to redefine what real wealth actually means. Because the conventional notion of wealth being tied solely to your income or net worth is deeply flawed and incomplete. For most people, the pursuit of wealth starts and ends with money. Getting a high-paying job, budgeting to save more, investing to grow a fat retirement account. But rarely do they stop to question whether money alone can truly fulfill the deeper cravings of the human spirit. Think about it. What good is having millions in the bank if you're miserable, overworked, and disconnected from the people and experiences that make life worth living? You could be the richest person in the graveyard, but all that money gets boxed up with you 6 feet under, utterly useless. True wealth has to be defined by something more holistic. Control over your time, deep relationships, constant growth, rich experiences, and a sense of ultimate freedom. Money is simply a renewable resource that facilitates and enhances those greater sources of fulfillment, not an end in itself. Need proof? Just look at the countless examples of wealthy but deeply unhappy individuals we constantly see splashed across the tabloids. Millionaires and billionaires with all the material possessions money can buy. Yet their lives are train wrecks, devoid of lasting joy or peace. Their wealth is ultimately an empty, fleeting high because they never took the time to find their why that transcends money. On the flip side, I'm sure you can think of people from more modest financial backgrounds who are abundantly wealthy in the areas that deeply matter. They have rich family lives, passions, and freedom with their time. Their wealth is measured in something far more precious than just dollars and cents. My goal isn't to downplay money altogether. Financial resources are still essential for living a fulfilling life. But I'm urging you to reframe your mindset around money being a meaningful tool for living fully, not just a scorecard to be accumulated. Realigning your why for pursuing wealth in this way has a beautiful way of transforming your relationship to money itself. Because when your top priority becomes maximizing every experience, forging deep connections, and constantly growing as a person, that's when you'll begin making decisions from a place of inspired desire rather than insatiable greed. You'll start treating money and time with equal devotion, rather than hoarding and fixating on one at the expense of the other. This holistic redefinition of wealth is the core mindset shift that will propel you out of the rat race and into a life of self-actualization. It's about unplugging from the flawed societal programming that true success stems from working to the bone and accumulating material excess. Instead, embrace the empowering truth that you're meant for far more than just tenured servitude. Real wealth is crafting a life prolific and meaningful way beyond the seductive touches of money alone. Keep listening as I reveal the blueprint for having it all. Money, time, freedom, the works. You don't have to choose one or the other. Now that we've reframed what true wealth actually looks like, it's time to reveal the path for achieving it, accumulating income-generating assets. For decades, the mainstream financial advice has pushed the same tired narrative. Go to school, get a good job, live frugally, save part of your paycheck in a 401k, and one day you can retire off those invested pennies. Rinse and repeat for 40, 50 years. Can you feel the sarcasm dripping off those words? That's because this conventional wisdom is nothing more than indoctrination into lifelong labor. A prescribed rat race where you spend your finite days constantly trading time for money, rather than reversing that equation. True wealth building begins when you develop an asset mindset, which essentially means acquiring income streams that generate revenue without perpetually retrading your time. Assets like real estate rentals, business revenues, royalties from creative works, investment holdings, and more. Money that has the potential to compound and flow back to you while you sleep. Now, I'm not going to pretend or sugarcoat that acquiring assets is easy. It takes grit, discipline, delaying gratification, and often fighting against your existing consumer conditioning. You'll need to get comfortable with risk to extract yourself from the risk-averse rat race. But here's the hard truth. If you want to achieve that grander vision of wealth and freedom we discussed earlier, you must make this paradigm shift. You need to go from societal cycle path endlessly spinning on the hamster wheel to conscious capitalist who prioritizes building a portfolio of income-generating assets. Even if starting small, this proactive asset accumulation plants the seeds for eventual financial autonomy. Not convinced? Let me share a quick example that might reframe your perspective. Let's say you rent out a single property that pulls in $1,000 per month in passive income. Within a relatively short window of time, you'll have created a completely separate revenue stream worth $12,000 annually. Rinse and repeat with acquiring new income streams through hustling, saving, and reinvesting, and those seemingly small earnings accelerate exponentially. Contrast that with someone who follows the typical get a job, spend everything, and save tiny bits for retirement script that's so heavily pushed. Even with a decent salary, the math is pretty grim. After taxes, expenses, and years of compounding interest working against them, that person would be lucky to generate $12,000 in annual passive retirement income even after working for decades. Can you see the power difference between these two mindsets and strategies? In one, you're systematically extracting and leveraging both your time and money to generate perpetual cash flows on top of other income. In the other, you're solely relying on a trickle of deferred savings to, with any luck, replicate just 1 year of your final paycheck late in life. This isn't an abstract theoretical either. There are thousands of examples of individuals who have implemented the asset mindset to reclaim their time and lifestyles. Through diversified streams like rental properties, business incomes, patents or creative royalties, investment dividends, and more, they've created self-sustaining wealth ecosystems. While it seems overwhelming if you're just getting started, the reality is that this snowball simply begins with a mindset shift. A decision to go from passive consumer and start actively hoarding assets that generate revenue, even if small at first. As those income tributaries begin flowing and compounding, it'll allow you to invest more into expanding and diversifying your asset portfolio. The path to true wealth is about becoming a ceaseless acquisition master of skills, assets, income streams, and ultimately, ownership over your time and life potential. It's time to kill the embedded employee mindset and embrace your worthiness of being an unapologetic capitalist. Keep listening as I reveal how to design your dream life first, then strategically assemble the assets required to afford it. Close your eyes for a moment and imagine your perfect day. Not the one you're currently trapped in, but the life you'd joyfully craft if you had complete freedom over your time and income sources. What does that look like for you? Waking up naturally without an alarm, savoring a morning ritual on your own schedule, pursuing creative passions or businesses you feel passionate about, having the flexibility for spontaneous travel and adventure, quality time with loved ones, unplugged from the frenzy of work demands. Or maybe it's simply having abundant open space to embrace stillness and live presently. Whatever your uniquely envisioned ideal day contains, really lean into that vision. Can you vividly picture and feel what it would be like to live that reality as your normal day-after-day lifestyle? No more dreams deferred until some ambiguous retirement date or fantasizing about geographic and financial freedom as some unattainable luxury. Because here's the sobering truth. That vision of meaningful liberation and lifestyle isn't just some unattainable fantasy. And yet so few ever realize it because they've unconsciously resigned to centuries-old industrial-age dogmas around trading time for survival. They've unknowingly sabotaged the very dreams they waited to chase until one day when they have time and money. Well, I've got news for you. If you want to live in actualization rather than pursuing your dreams as some bucket list formality later in life, it's time to reverse that conventional formula. The blueprint isn't to maximize income through grueling labor hour by hour, year by year, for decades on end in hopes of maybe having enough pennies left over at the end. No, the path to realizing your grandest life vision starts with clearly defining that vision first, then going out and strategically acquiring the income-generating assets required to fund it sustainably. Not just cutting expenses to indulgently spend, but generating renewable income streams to afford the ideal lifestyle up front. I'll give you a concrete example to hammer this point home. Let's say your dream life involved taking a few years off in your 30s or 40s to travel the world with your family and immerse in different cultures. Most would instantly reject that vision as unfeasible given monthly expenses plus the lost earning power from quitting jobs and draining savings. But what if you purposefully built up a diversified portfolio of rental property income, monetized digital businesses, and investment accounts distributing over $10,000 per month in cumulative passive revenue? Not only could you breathe easy about absorbing living costs during that multi-year sabbatical, but you'd likely be banking more than if you'd stayed trapped in a single professional job. That's the power of flipping the modern wealth creation script on its head. Going from deferring life for decades in hopes of maybe scraping together a modest pension pot to proactively designing an upfront life you absolutely love, funded by perpetual income streams that cover it all. This is the core strategy of the ultra-affluent and generationally wealthy. They don't wait for scarcity and lack of freedom. They proactively map out their desired lifestyle and acquisition goals, then productize and arbitrage to garner the assets required. It's an abundant, opportunity-driven mindset, rather than scarcity-driven. The good news is this approach is no longer just reserved for the legacy rich. Anyone can apply the same principles through prioritizing cash-flowing assets like real estate, online businesses, investment accounts, intellectual property, and more. All it takes is getting clear on your ideal lifestyle vision as the prime directive, then strategically maneuvering to assemble the self-sustaining empire that facilitates it. So, I'll ask again, what's your grandest vision of your life if you had no constraints? Get clear on that design up front, then stay tuned as I reveal the first actionable steps for making that reality your refreshing norm, not just a bucket list dream deferred. By now, you've recalibrated your mindset around what true wealth actually looks like. It's not solely about money, but rather strategically aligning your time, energy, and income streams to support a life of profound freedom and actualization. You've envisioned your own grandest lifestyle ambitions, whether that's extended travel, being present with loved ones, pursuing creative callings, or simply breathing space from the hustle. An existence richly experienced rather than endured on the perpetual treadmill. And most importantly, you've been introduced to the core blueprint for realizing that liberated reality. It begins with the pivotal psychological shift to an asset mindset, where you relentlessly acquire income-generating assets and revenue streams that cover your living costs automatically. No more trading time for an hourly rental fee. Feeling overwhelmed yet? That's natural when confronting any paradigm shift that upends mainstream thought. But here's both a reality check and a rallying cry. You can stay perpetually stuck, confined to the prescribed rat race, or you can take profound ownership over your gifts and spirit to craft a radically different life. While the prospect of reinventing your wealth trajectory can seem daunting, it starts with giving yourself permission to reject the indoctrinated narratives holding you trapped. No more settling for a paint-by-numbers existence of mediocrity and deferred living. Because the path to true wealth and lifestyle freedom, powered by assets rather than incessant traded labor, is very much an available option if you make the commitment. All it takes is those first initial ground-swelling actions to get the momentum going. For some, that may look like aggressive budgeting and analyzing your current expenditures to unlock capital for investing. For others, it could be upskilling by voraciously learning a high-income skill set like sales, coding, or marketing to increase your earned income. Maybe it's finally launching that radical entrepreneurial idea you've been putting off. The possibilities are endless for customized first steps based on your unique situation and existing resources. But the universal truth is, you have to give yourself permission to pursue something stratospheric beyond the confined space you currently exist in. Freedom is never freely given. It must be taken through bold, convicted actions. That's why I always recommend finding and immersing yourself in communities filled with like-minded individuals already living lives of affluence through asset portfolios and diversified revenue streams. Their energy and embodied examples will pull you out of the gravity of fear-based thought holding you trapped. Additionally, continuously feed your mind with paradigm-shifting education that dismantles limiting beliefs around wealth and success. Scour books, podcasts, documentaries, highlighting the strategies and psychology of individuals who've constructed self-perpetuating income machines, freeing them to live as they desire. The path may be gradual at first, but views like these have a miraculous way of reframing your awareness around the possibilities, of activating that innate human craving for freedom and growth that no constrictive dogma can permanently extinguish. More than anything, get ruthlessly clear on your commanding whys behind wanting a liberated, asset-acquired lifestyle in the first place. Because when your reasons are significant enough, spending quality life seasons with loved ones, capitalizing on fleeting windows of peak health, or pioneering an impactful body of work you're animated by, that's when mustering the grit to manifest your reality becomes an uphill battle no longer. So ready or not, the choice is yours. Stay a compliant, passive bystander, merely existing for someone else's dreams and broke retirement ending. Or combat those conditioned delusions by taking proactive baby steps, identifying your liberated vision, and ultimately ascending to join the ranks of the self-actualized and financially autonomous. The path favors the bold. As we wrap up, I want you to visualize something for me one last time. Imagine yourself exactly 1 year from now. Who have you become? What actions did you take after hearing this guide that permanently upgraded your life trajectory? Maybe you're that former 9-to-5 employee who finally quit their unfulfilling job to pursue a long-simmering entrepreneurial venture full-time. Leveraging the profits from that business, you've already started acquiring income-generating assets like investing in rental properties or passive revenue streams online. Your days are now yours, or perhaps you're still at your job, but have implemented money and mindset shifts that unlock torrents of new income. You've paid down soul-crushing debt, started amassing capital, and are steps away from financing your ideal lifestyle through accumulated assets and diversified cash flows. Wherever you envision yourself 12 months from now, allow that vivid portrait to saturate your consciousness. Can you feel the euphoria and freedom radiating from that future reality? The sheer excitement of watching compounding assets and revenue streams start materializing the life you once resigned to being forever deferred. If that electrifying vision ignites something profound within you, then let it be the motivating force propelling you into execution, starting today. No more waiting for permission to live, awaiting instructions from the system. From this moment, you declare autonomy over the breadth of your ambition and quality of life. Because here's the harsh truth: that spark of desire you're feeling to ascend beyond confining societal constructs around trading time for money, it tends to wildly burn brightest in your 20s, 30s, and 40s when your health, energy, and optimized life force is still a blazing fire. If you let that flame get permanently dimmed through the soul-crushing realities of deferred living, you may drift through the second half of your journey on this planet, painfully awoken yet inevitably shackled. So as I leave you, I have one final ask. Don't let that happen. Don't let the mundane daily voices lull you into numbness through fear-based rationalization. Because when you extricate your current comfort zone into the incalculable opportunity costs of never attempting to acquire financial and experience freedom, that's when you'll find your true north as an infinite, empowered being. The wealthiest individuals in any community aren't just the millionaires or billionaires. They're the brave-hearted few who had the courage and unrelenting self-belief to expect more from their finite lives than being indentured to someone else's vision. My role has simply been to reawaken that liberating truth within you, that no amount of societal conditioning can extinguish forever. The choice ahead is clear: settle for the crumbs of mediocrity and regret that scarcity mentality breeds, or rise up and claim the abundant, asset-fueled life of your dreams and grandest options. The path favors the bold, but fortune always chances the perseverant. Stay committed, take relentless baby steps forward, and your reality will have no choice but to ultimately reflect the self-determination you finally gave yourself permission to embody. I'll leave you with one final question. A year from now, who will you choose to be?